Lola.
Coming up, breaking news from Tunisia. A tourist hotel used by Britons comes under attack from gunfire. Also, a man is decapitated in a suspected Islamist terror attack in southern France. And in a historic visit to Germany, the Queen visits a Nazi concentration camp for the first time.
Reluctantly crowded.
Emmerdale tonight at 7. Now though, the ITV Lunchtime News.
A gunman attacks tourist hotels in Tunisia. Dozens have been killed and Brits have been caught up in the attack. We bring you the latest on this developing story. Also this lunchtime, terror in France as a man is decapitated in a suspected Islamist attack. An historic moment and a personal one for the Queen, who visits a German Nazi concentration camp for the first time.
This is ITV News with Ranveer Singh.
Good afternoon. The details of exactly what has happened are still emerging this lunchtime, but it appears a gunman has attacked several tourist hotels in Tunisia, killing at least 27 people. The gunman is said to have been killed by police, but it isn't clear if there are more people involved. It happened in the city of Sousse, which is a popular resort with tourists from around the world, including Britons. Duncan Golestani is here for us. You're looking at all the wires. What's been coming in? What do we know at this stage?
It sounds like a terrifying attack. We're hearing of an exchange of fire, followed by explosions involving at least one gunman. As you say, this is happening in a very popular resort at a hotel called the Imperial Mahaba. Very popular with Western tourists, very popular with British tourists. Lots of things are coming through on social media. Of course, not all of them are confirmed, but the accounts do sound really horrific. There are unconfirmed images of people on the beach lying in a pool of blood. We've also been speaking to people staying in hotels nearby who say there was a stampede as people ran through the hotel, being told by the hotels to get to their rooms and lock themselves there in safety. In the last few minutes, we have had word from the Interior Ministry in Tunisia. He said at least one gunman has been killed and another is being pursued. He warns the death toll could rise. We know it's been rising every few minutes over the last half an hour.
Indeed, and coming through that he's saying that foreigners too have been killed in this incident. A few moments ago, we heard from Karen Hillman. She's staying at a hotel nearby and was evacuated after the attack. This is what she had to say.
Apparently, he started firing on the beach. And also I was led around by the pool and everyone just come rushing up and it was like a stampede. Everyone was just told to get inside the hotel and into their rooms. Yeah, it's scary, yeah. We don't know if because apparently people got killed and we don't know if it's English people, Tunisians or whatever. We don't know. So we were told just to get in our rooms and that was it. I didn't actually see any gunfire and I just heard all the shots and like I said, all the people rushing up from the beach but through the pool area. I just wondered what the hell was going on.
That's Karen Hillman there. Obviously very worried about what's going on. Our consumer editor Chris Choi is here. Chris, so many people booked to go there. They will have booked over this summer coming. Were there warnings about this sort of thing possibly happening, attacks like this?
There were, but not in connection with this particular region of Tunisia. You're right, this is well and truly on the tourism map for British travellers. Latest figures from ABTA suggest that about 420,000 visit from the UK each year. And you're right, it has been subject to warnings. I've got them here from the Foreign Office. They've said previously there is a high threat from terrorism, including kidnapping. Attacks could be indiscriminate, including in places visited by foreigners. This stems largely from an attack on March the 18th at the Bardo Museum, of course, another tourism attraction. But most UK travellers to Tunisia stay in the coastal resorts of the Mediterranean. Previously, with some alarming exceptions, they've been regarded as relatively safe. I mean, the first thing, of course, is that people want to know if their friends or family are in any of those resorts, how they can get information. I'm told just a few minutes ago that the Foreign Office is about to issue a number that people will be able to call, and I hope we can bring you that a bit later.
Yeah, if you've got a holiday booked, you just wouldn't want to take your children there now, would you, really?
Well, exactly. And what will happen where that is concerned is that if the Foreign Office changes its guidance and recommends that people do not travel, then people's holiday insurance will kick in and they needn't travel. Separately, tour operators may take a view and begin to offer alternative booking arrangements for people that are quite naturally concerned.
Right, OK. Thank you for that. And just a reminder that the latest figures are that at least 27 people have been killed in those attacks at hotels in a tourist area of Tunisia. All the developing news, of course, on our website, itv.com. We'll have the latest updates there as soon as they get them. Of course, if anything changes during the course of this programme, we'll bring it to you also. In another separate incident today, at least one man has died in a suspected Islamist attack in France. Two assailants drove a car into the premises of an American gas company, exploding containers. A decapitated head, covered in Arabic writing, was found at the site. President Hollande said a suspect had been arrested and identified and was already known to the security services. The attack happened in Saint-Quentin-Fallavier near the city of Lyon. Paul Davis has the latest.
These were the first images that alerted the French people to another terror attack on their soil. Police surrounding a chemical factory that this morning became the latest target for Islamic extremists. When officers arrived here, they found the severed head of one of the plant's employees on a fence. One man was arrested. It's understood he, possibly with an accomplice, had started a number of explosions inside the factory. France's President Hollande heard the disturbing news at the EU Council summit in Brussels and immediately announced he was heading home.
L'attaque est de nature terroriste.
It is a terror attack, no doubt about it. A body was found, it had been decapitated and there was a message on it. At the moment, we have one dead and two injured.
Au moment où je parle, il y aurait un mort et deux blessés.
As President Hollande set off for the airport, his Interior Minister, Bernard Cazeneuve, was already at the scene of the attack at Saint-Quentin-Fallavier near Lyon. He told reporters the man in custody was known to the security services, who'd been monitoring him, fearing he may have been radicalised. Many in France will have been saying to themselves, not again, this morning. It's just 4 months since the attack on the offices of the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. It ultimately led to 16 deaths and another 22 wounded. Why this factory became a target isn't immediately clear. It is American-owned and produces liquid oxygen and nitrogen. There are reports that Islamic flags were found at the scene. Paul Davis, ITV News.
Well, let's speak to Hadrian Becht, who is a journalist in the area and joins me on the phone. What's happening there at the moment?
Actually, what we know, and as you said, Yassine Salih, who is the main suspect, has been arrested. Maybe other suspects have been held in custody, but the Interior Minister, Bernard Cazeneuve, did not want to tell us more details about that. So what we know is that in 2006, Salih has been considered as radicalized, but in 2008, it was not considered as radicalized anymore. So we are going to have more information about that in just a moment, I think. What we also can say today, and what is striking, is that there is a big difference with what happened in Charlie Hebdo and what happened here today, because here we are in the French countryside, and it's very different from what happened in Paris, because in Paris the authorities took measures to protect the main places, the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Élysées, and so on. But here in the countryside, in the regions, no measures had been taken. And that's why we can think it's easier for the terrorists to make an attack here.
And hey, Adrian, just a final thought about how will the French people be dealing with this just 6 months after those terrible killings at Charlie Hebdo?
Mm-hmm. Yes, actually, people told me that for them it was, yes, very surprising, very striking, and they are shocked, obviously. But are they going to change anything? No, because they are not able to change anything. What they say is that actually they are going to leave to work because they work for these people. They work here and in this area, and so no, they are not going to change anything. But yes, they are very shocked, and they didn't expect it to happen here.
Hadrian Becht, thank you so much for joining us. The Queen is making an historic first visit to one of the former Nazi concentration camps this lunchtime. She's at Bergen-Belsen, a site where more than 50,000 prisoners died before it was liberated by British troops in 1945. In a moment, we'll speak to survivor from the camp about the significance to her, Eva, of the Queen's visit. But first, to our royal editor, Tim Ewart, who reports from Bergen-Belsen.
Of all the journeys the Queen has made, few can have been more painful. Nothing remains of the original Bergen-Belsen camp. No huts, no fences, no watchtowers. But this is a place haunted by the ghosts of one of the great horrors of history. 70,000 people perished at Belsen, including 20,000 Soviet prisoners of war. There were no gas chambers. They died of disease and starvation. British troops who liberated the camp found 60,000 sick and emaciated prisoners and more than 10,000 bodies. There were liberators here and survivors. Anita Lasker-Wallfisch, who now lives in London, was a teenage German Jew sent first to Auschwitz, then to Belsen.
The difference between Auschwitz and the Belsen to me is that in Auschwitz they had the most sophisticated way of murdering people. Clean, sanitized. They didn't need this in Belsen. You just perished here. You came here to die.
Captain Eric Brown, now 96, then a young soldier, was brought in as a military interpreter.
As we came through the entrance, it was really like walking into Dante's Inferno. I've never seen anything like it. We estimated about 10,000 bodies lying around, and they were all over the place.
The Queen paused at Belsen's Jewish memorial and the stone placed in memory of 15-year-old Anne Frank and her sister Margot, who both died here. Then she laid a wreath at the camp's inscription wall, honouring the dead and keeping the memory alive. This was a visit the Queen had personally wanted to make, a glimpse into a moment of history almost too awful to imagine.
Well, we can join Tim live there now. Good afternoon, Tim. Put it into context, why is this visit by the Queen so significant today?
Because it helps to prevent people forgetting what happened in unimaginable places like this. You know, there are not that many Holocaust survivors left alive now. Many of them devote their lives to going around talking to school children, doing television interviews, trying to educate people about what happened in places like Belsen. But they're mostly in their late 80s, as you saw today, in their 90s, and quite simply they just won't be able to keep on doing it for very long. So any occasion that raises the profile of places like this, a place unspeakable horrors, is a good thing, clearly. And to have the Queen come here has put Belsen very much again in the forefront of the public mind.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Tim Ewart, live there. Well, joining me now here is a remarkable woman who was one of those liberated 70 years ago. Eva Bihar survived the horrors of both Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen camps, and she settled in Britain. And earlier this year returned to the Belsen camp herself for the first time. Eva, thank you so much for coming in. Just tell me, you feel it's so important to you personally, don't you, that the Queen has gone today? Tell me why.
Actually, when I heard that yesterday or the day before, I was so pleased that she's taken the time. And actually, I feel very honoured on behalf of myself and on behalf of all those that never made it. She's taken the time. to honour us.
And Eva, you went back there. I mean, you're in your 90s now, unbelievably. You don't look it, but it took you many, many years to find the courage to go back there, and you did in April this year.
It's taken me 70 years, and I went back in April, the day of liberation, the 23rd of April, and it was just amazing.
The terrible memories must have flooded back.
Yeah, memories were flooding back when I saw the graves, and I was standing there, and I was trying to recollect. And I remember standing there lighting a candle in the memory of those that have gone. I couldn't believe that I'm free. And I have been free for 70 years. And I haven't been lying in those graves for all those years. And then I looked up and saw my family. And it was just amazing. I think life took a turn for me in Belgium in April. Because if I never did appreciate life, that's when it began. How lucky I was.
And to survive both Auschwitz and Belsen is just extraordinary.
To be honest with you, I can't believe. I couldn't believe when I was standing there. How did I get out of here?
And not only did you survive, but you thrived afterwards, because the liberation at Belsen actually meant that you met your husband, who was a British soldier.
I did.
Incredibly.
I did.
Tell me about that.
He wasn't a liberator. He was in the Air Force. And I met him when we were stationed, or we were taken to Celle, a little town, a little bit further to Belsen. Beautiful little town. And we met in a club set up by the Jewish relief unit at the time. And we basically got married a year later.
It's an incredible
and it was
story of
just amazing.
survival. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that this gives you another milestone in your sort of moving on as well. Thank you so much.
I have moved on.
Yeah.
But that definitely was a milestone, and I'm really, really chuffed and honoured for the Queen to have been there today.
Well, Eva, we are chuffed and honoured that you were here. Thank you.
Thank you.
A father and two sons have appeared in court charged with murder after a fatal house fire in Derbyshire. Amy Smith and her 6-month-old daughter were killed in the blaze at Langley Mill, along with her friend Edward Green. Peter, Anthony and Simon Eyre were all remanded in custody. The remains of more than one person have been found in the ongoing search for 3 IRA victims known as the disappeared. People searching for the body of former monk Joe Linsky, who went missing in 1972, made the discovery on bogland in the Irish Republic. HM Revenue and Customs is investing an extra £45 million into improving its customer service. New figures reveal more than 7 million people were unable to speak to an operator last year, who were instead put through to an engaged tone. And Tesco said it was taking another step in the right direction after its UK like-for-like sales fell by just 1.3% in the first quarter of the financial year. The supermarket giant said the results were an improvement on the 4% fall in the same period last year. Let's go back to our main developing story this lunchtime. Dozens of people have been killed in a gun attack at a tourist hotel or several tourist hotels in Tunisia. One gunman has also been killed. Another is reportedly on the loose. The government has said that 27 people have now died, including foreigners. Duncan Golestani is here. Just tell us a bit more about what happened. It happened in Sousse, which many people watching will know of because it's very popular.
Very popular with Western tourists, with European tourists and tourists from Britain. We're just starting to get some really terrifying accounts coming through from British tourists, people in the water at the beach and being shouted at to get out of the water, to get off the beach. They went running into their hotels. The hotel staff telling them to get to their rooms, but some of them didn't have their cards because they'd left them on their beach, many of them in their swimming costumes. They had to go back and get them. Then, when they got to their rooms, being told to barricade themselves in. The Interior Ministry has said at least 27 people have been killed, some of them foreign, so likely they will be tourists. The Interior Ministry also saying one gunman has been killed, but another is being pursued.
OK, I think we can speak to an eyewitness, Gary Pine, who is on holiday there. Good afternoon to you. I hope you can hear me. Can you just tell me what has happened from your point of view, what you've experienced?
I think the summary I've just heard your reporter say is accurate, and that kind of reflects where we are right now. I find it very strange that we've yet to see any kind of security presence or any kind of military presence at all. And I'm probably 30, 40 yards away from the beach, the exit back onto the beach, and some of the staff are milling around, but there seems to be people even, meandering back down onto the beach to pick up some personal possessions, which I find a little bit strange. But it all seemed to break out about 12 o'clock-ish today, where to the left of the beach where I was with my wife and my son, my 22-year-old son, was in the water just cleaning himself after a game of volleyball. It sounded as if firecrackers were going off, so quite a few firecrackers very quickly and very noisy, 100, 150 yards away from us. But within seconds it became pretty clear and pretty apparent that it wasn't firecrackers, to the point where I kind of turned around and with my wife exited 10, 20 or 30 yards to the right, realised I didn't got my bag, stupidly went back to get my bag, and as I went back, like a couple of other people did, realised that there were bullets flying around in the air. So, hence...
A very, very worrying time for you when you hear that 27 people are known to have died. Some foreigners, you must be feeling extremely lucky, although extremely worried and scared this afternoon. It's dreadful, and you can see that the shock, kind of the anxiety and the concern is all too apparent on everywhere I look around me. But though people are quite rightly sitting down and have something to eat or a drink just to calm their nerves, there's the anxiety, the concern for people is all too readily available in that, we don't know what we're doing. We're in a hotel, conflicting information, quite rightly, as your reporter said. We were told in one breath to get back into your rooms, Of course, people couldn't because they didn't have their keys, and then the next breath, literally 5 minutes later, the guy said, let's all stay place. And then another one of the guests came back in and said, be prepared, we're going to leave in 5 minutes en masse. So we didn't know. Lucky enough, I don't think anybody took to his advice. But as you say, confusion reigned. Indeed. Gary,
yeah, sorry.
We may just have to leave it there, but thank you so much for taking time to talk to us, and stay safe. Thank you very much. The Foreign Office has issued an emergency telephone number for any relatives here worried. It is 0207 008 1500. That's 0207 008 1500. There'll be much more on this attack in Tunisia and the rest of the day's news on the 6:30 news. Until then, have a very good afternoon.
No matter what the weather, Green Flag Breakdown Response sponsors the ITV National Weather.
Hello there, a very good afternoon to you. It's a pretty unsettled picture across the UK as we look ahead to the rest of Friday. As you can see, plenty going on the earlier satellite and radar chart. And as you can see, quite a clear picture behind this swoop of cloud, which is frontal systems steadily moving eastwards across the UK. They're going to mark a real boundary between the quite hot and muggy conditions that we've been seeing recently and some much cooler, clearer stuff behind. And there's that band of rain and clouds you can see sitting across the central slice. A few showers breaking out ahead of it across the east and southeast, also behind as well, but even so temperatures are going to be rising to a very respectable 21 Celsius there across Northern Ireland, feeling hot and muggy in London with temperatures at least 25. See you later.
Green Flag Breakdown Response sponsors the ITV National Weather.